call the meeting to order. First item is March meeting minutes. Any commentary?
No commentary.
All right. So then with that being the case, I'll make a motion to approve the March meeting minutes. Any objections?
No objections.
All right. I was going to say hearing none, then they're approved. I forget, this is how we've been doing it at work for a lot of those. We've kind of switched over to the who objects, because then, it gives everyone an opportunity to kind of chime in, and instead of necessarily going around the room and getting all the yeses, you can just go the no's, and it all comes out the same at the end of the day. So.
Sounds good.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Okay. So.
Approve 3-0.
Yep.
Am I
right.
sending them out early enough for you guys, or should I send them out earlier than a few days before?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's kind of the, in a way, it's also kind of a reminder. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're going the second week this month versus the third or
The
fourth.
third. Yeah.
So it worked out just fine for me anyway.
Okay.
So
Cool. Good.
Yep.
all right. Let's see. What do we have on our agenda next? Let's open that back up. I'm assuming we're going to go into financials. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And with financials, see if I can open up something that I was playing around with. All right, now, bear with me one more second. All right, am I sharing a window?
Nope,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Oh, okay. All right,
There it is. Yep.
There you
Got
go.
okay. To get this thing out of here, that I don't mind seeing yet, but get it out of the way. Why won't it move? I don't know. We'll override it. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, from Vadar, I went in and I was playing around. So
I'm probably speaking for everyone, but if not, just speaking for me. If you want us to look at anything specific, we'll just have to blow it up because it's super small.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's fine. So,
That's good. Yep.
okay. So I started playing around. This is 2024 fiscal year. I went back and I looked at what I believe to be the opening balances and accounts, specifically the two revolving accounts. And I went through, I found some reports that basically said, okay, hey, here's all the expenses, here's all the revenue that we had. So we can see in fiscal year 24, we pretty much had a wash, which is exactly what we were kind of reporting. Where we made a slight profit, but not, nothing to write home about. And oh, by the way, that's the way it should be anyway, because it's supposed to be a zero-sum game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Obviously, if we started there and obviously net out all the revenue and expenses, and then that just rolls over. So the final balance that I was showing here just rolled over to here. Obviously, August is huge, but August being huge has the court resurfacing cost and some Sunset Sound things that are all bundled into that one, which is why it was so high. Right? But otherwise, other, kind of other months look, generally correct. Yeah, I was somewhat surprised to see the December number being as high as it was. And I think that the piece that was there, I think that might have been the time where we had the MyRec bill.
It might be
which
the
is,
My Rec bill. I also think I did some of the like parking passes and pickleball passes and maybe things like that.
yeah. So I think, I just think with that being the case, that's where that one looked a little abnormal than usual, but I think it was kind of self-explanatory in terms of seeing some of those other quick hitters, right? So I just wanted to bring this up and kind of show that, I think we've, if I'm just looking at Vadar and going down the line, from a high level month to month view, it seems directionally okay. Without, and Maria, I know I didn't necessarily tie off with you on any of this, so for that,
Yeah,
I
that's fine.
apologize. But,
Yeah.
At the same time, I just look at it and kind of go, okay, based on where we're rolling at this point, it's a lot lower, right? Our current balance is a lot lower than it's probably ever been. It is rebounding a bit based on having some of the kids at play registrations. But, I think based on where this will end up, we'll probably still be below the $270,000 spend limit for the fiscal year. So just as long as that's the case and we've got a positive balance overall from all the ins and outs, where, we're still doing okay, knowing we had to kind of change pace a little bit on some of the funding source things that we weren't allowed to do. So,
Yeah.
Other than that, I kind of did the same thing with the parks. So parks has been, that one did have a little bit of a positive number coming out of fiscal year 24. It looks like it's a little down so far this year. But more than likely we won't have, we probably won't have a ton of expenses before the end. We may still get a pretty good boost. So, and I do believe, no, it's not the parks. We spent, we already spent money in the site of improvements. So site improvements, last year, we really didn't use it. We were hoping to get this 15, basically that $15,000 cost applied to a 2024, didn't happen. It's here in 25 and, basically that drains that account. Now, this site improvement account is one that it just resets back to, a fixed amount each year. So obviously the fiscal year 26 number will be lower because of Joe asking us to drop that number down a bit. And we'll work that out accordingly, right?
Mhm.
But that'll be for a 26 piece that I haven't necessarily put in here. The beach stuff where I think everyone knows we're already in the hole. So any other expenses that are really beach related for this year is going to need to come out of a different funding source. So maybe we can put some of that against parks. Because I know gatekeepers comes out of parks. Maybe we can get the lifeguards to come out of parks as well.
We had
You know,
also, I don't know if this is a point for anyone later, but we had also talked about potentially opening a week or two later in
Right.
order to cut down on the additional beach
Yeah.
costs.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
So I'm kind of putting that
Yep.
out there for let's chat about it after you're done with it,
Yeah.
later in the meeting.
Yep.
No, I mean, and well, and I think that's actually where I was gonna head of saying, we know that, the financial adjustment will already have to be done here. I think you and I, we had talked about basically 12 days-ish.
Yep.
I think was our number that we came up with, right? In terms of the number of days that we'd probably be looking to staff for beach being open. And I think it's just a matter of saying, okay, it's gonna end up from one of the two accounts, either parks or recreation, depending on where we're at.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've got the concerts. This doesn't reflect the great donation that's gonna be coming our way, but
Right.
and actually I'm not 100% sure how I'd throw that in there, right? If we directly applied it back to concerts, so maybe
one?
that
Which donation are you talking about?
you had the
School of Rock.
the
The
School
grant?
of Rock donation.
Yeah, 1,500. Yep.
Yep.
We can revisit that. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
that's been
all I'm
already
saying, yeah,
deposited
all I was
into
just
that
gonna say
account.
about that is it's not
Good.
reflected here.
Okay.
It has been submitted for deposit, so we should probably see it by the next month's meeting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, so basically what I was seeing, at least at the time that I was going through this, I was able to see expenses through March, but not the revenue. The revenue might have caught up with it by now. Because I did see a note come out from Kenny either yesterday or Monday. So
Mhm.
maybe that's actually in there and done, but this was me playing around last week when I was looking at some of those kids that played numbers and then, looking at some of the revenue numbers or expense numbers. So anyway, I didn't necessarily have anything anything others, specifically that I wanted to call out, just that, hey, I just kind of pulled this together real quick based on what I saw in Vadar, and it doesn't necessarily give us details of what's in what, where, and how, and why. But it's a high enough summary level that it should allow us to, at least on that monthly level, take a look and see, all right, here's where we're at.
That's great.
Yeah,
So-
no, I appreciate it. It's easy to read.
I have a question because potentially by the next meeting, or if not, definitely the one after that, I'll be back to full time. So kind of retaking over, sharing the financials. Is this something that you all would want to continue seeing? Like, to me, I think this is, like you said, sure, we don't know what is coming out of pickleball and what is coming out of yoga and what is whatever. But it is at least, this is the factual data that is reported. We might not always be able to match it up to our line item down, yoga, volleyball, kids at play, whatever. But at least it's like, this is what is in. Do you all want this continue updated each month? Would this be helpful?
I think it would be
It
good
is to
because
me.
because it might flag like anything that needs further discussion if there's anything major going on.
Okay.
But yeah, it's easy to read, which is nice. I agree with Laura on that.
Yeah.
And honestly, the whole reason why I did it this way was really thinking about this meeting and maybe even meeting minutes, right? Of saying, if someone comes back and kind of goes, well, you guys should be watching that account and
Mhm.
directly managing it, because I think that was a statement that was made with the beach, right? Of
Yeah.
then saying, okay, can we have a high, like monthly summarized version that we can share within the minutes, right? Of saying we looked at the monthly data. And then yes, if we have an outlier that we want to go into, then we can start to try to dig in on what all the other expenses were that made up those months.
Great.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
idea. Yep.
For sure.
Perfect.
Okay, so so with that being the case, I mean, I didn't necessarily do a lot, much special stuff here, so Maria, I'll just write up kind of what I did and kind of
Great.
send it over, and it was just one or two simple directed areas that I went into, and I specifically went and looked for certain account numbers, which is why I put them in here, right?
Yeah.
Just to say, okay, you have to click on those and then click on something else in order to get the right data to kind of show up in that monthly view.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay. Cool.
Good.
All
For
right.
my usual comedic relief, it took me like 3 months into working in Grafton to understand or put together why when the secretaries would say Vadar, Vadar, I was like, how did I know that name?
Yeah.
And finally, I was like, oh, Vadar.
Darth Vader,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I am your father.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feel as fondly of it as you did at first, Maria. I can
Yeah.
tell you that.
I mean, Rick, you're seeing a little bit of it. It's not, I mean, once you know where to click, there's a lot of information there. So I'm sure you
Oh.
can get a lot of good information, but figuring out how to find it,
Yeah,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
looks like
and
navigational
realizing,
nightmare.
yeah, and realizing how how he necessarily puts it in, and it's not that it's wrong. It's just
Yeah.
it's a different way to look at it, and I just I again, I didn't necessarily go into the grave details. I just knew, like, I think that 1 month I did because I went, okay, let me just see sports tech. Yep, there it is. Sunset Sound. Yep, there it is. Okay,
Yep.
and that's
makes sense. Yeah.
I kind of did the two things and said, okay, and it's captured in the middle of what's one of the largest months that we usually have a payout on anyway, and away we went.
Yeah, no, it worked.
So yeah. Anyway, okay. So I guess we've got so that was the financial piece. We have the Mass Cultural Council grant vote.
Yeah, so this is the thing that we covered in the last meeting, and this is I think we have a decent chance of getting this. And again,
Yep.
just Laura, to catch you up, is we apply for it now. It's got to be in before the end of this month. And from what I've seen from attending their webinar and also like looking at the site, is they basically fund things like the concert series, and you can apply for 2,500 or 5,000. It doesn't matter what you apply for. It's all based on merit.
Yes.
And the catch is that you don't find out if you got it or not until September. So by then the concert
Right.
series is over, but they apply it retroactively, that amount, to what you paid bands already. So
Right.
that could lessen our 2025 expense, and that could carry over to the next year if we wanted to.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I talked with Joe about this because we need a financial sign-on person plus I forget what the terms are, but we need two separate people. It would be Joe and Kenny probably to be signatories of the grant, and myself to apply for it. Now, Joe said if I'm going to apply for it, that we need a formal vote that the Rec Commission is interested in applying for it. So that's why I put that on the agenda, is
Yep.
we actually need a formal vote. So
Okay.
I move that we vote to apply for this Mass Cultural Grant.
I'll
I would
second
agree.
it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Yeah. Okay.
What's the
All right.
amount that you're looking to put it?
I'll go for
at?
the 5,000. I mean, may as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Great.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. We'll get to the expenses for the concerts in a bit.
Okay. All right. So if we move on, so this is director's report time. So
I
I guess I would put it as how is the interviewing and that type of stuff going?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have a physical report, but I do have. I don't want to put it up on screen because this is recorded and there's people's names and we haven't sent out offers or acceptances or anything. But I do have kind of so I do 3 tabs for interviews. I put everybody who's applied for each position, and then during the interviews, we take notes and we put what we recommend as the position that we actually may offer them, with sort of a grade, 1 to 5, 0 to 5 under that position. So even if they applied for counselor, but we think they'd make a good gatekeeper, we grade them based on gatekeeper. And then and so then second tab is organizing them based on our recommendations for what position they would actually do best in, and then sort them by grades. So the idea is, at that point you can kind of just go top down until you reach the numbers you want to hire, and then you send out your offers. Last year that worked great. We had like 130 applicants, so we were just well over in every field, in terms of people who graded high enough, just based on, I would say, quantity and quality of applicants. This year we had like 92 applicants, so nothing, terrible. It's still a very, very good number. But we had a lot more definite no's. So typically if we give someone a 0, it's saying we just don't think they would be a good fit at any position.
Yeah.
And for example, about half of the counselor applicants were 0s.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that we were being kind of generous on a few of the 2s and things of that sort. So, we also have one, like I said, where they might not be a no, but we just know that they would be a better fit under the gatekeeper, so we slide them over. So the issue that we're running into is basically numbers of counselors. I would say I feel safe that we have 20 like good applicants for counselors. We typically hire 25 counselors. I think it's possible we could fudge it to maybe a 23, maybe a 22. But that's kind of some of the math that I'm trying to do. Do I maybe do 1 less team leader to pad that counselor number? Is there someone who maybe I kind of wrote off that was as a gatekeeper who I could maybe slide back? So I'm wiggling that a little bit, but that's tough because that's assuming nobody says no, which
Right.
not a lot of people say no, but we've gotten, each year we'll get
You've got
1,
some.
2, maybe 3 no's.
Sure.
Across all the positions. So that's a little bit worrying. Again, I don't know if it's necessarily because of the numbers, because 92 is still a great number of applicants. I think just maybe the people who chose to come out this year weren't, what we were necessarily looking for that position.
Right.
All the other positions were fine. Gatekeeper was also a little bit tight, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna be fine with the total numbers. Lifeguards, I think last year we hired 15. I think we have 11 or 12 this year, so we'll be okay. But again, just a little bit on the smaller end. The biggest thing I'm noticing is we just didn't have a lot of returners. Lifeguards, I expected that because we had a lot of kids leaving for college, and I know a lot of them were interested in internships between summers, and it was sort of something I was prepared for with the lifeguards. And we had a decent number of kids at play staff, I think 3 or 4, who actually applied to be lifeguards this year.
Right.
So that has helped. But that slide, along with, again, just not as many returning counselors reapplying, was, I think, where some of our numbers were getting tight. So anyway, that's really the update. There's not a ton that I need to discuss with you all. Again, I don't want to say people's names or get into big details. We did have 3 applicants for program director. We have 0 applicants for the real, kind of the new program director position. So the 3 applicants for what was the old level, again, kind of all expected, and that if we are able to hire someone into the new position, that would slide over into assistant program director territory. But right now, I haven't really said anything to them about it because we have 0 applicants for the new position.
Mm.
So that'll
Wow.
be something that we're gonna need to keep just getting out there. I know I talked to Sandy and she said she pinged the person who sends out the newsletter like from the principal and superintendent's office. So they were able to kind of put it in the weekly newsletter for all the staff. So I don't know if there's like, besides HR, if there's another person at each school that we can ping to just say like, hey, I know we told HR, but would you also kind of get this out there for us? But
I'll check
yeah,
in with Mandy in Grafton, definitely.
great. Yeah, that would be great.
Everything I've heard is it's the pay scale is what I'm hearing constantly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the hard thing too, Sandy mentioned that she had to look at the grid and based on the new class and comp plan, they look at the specifics of the position and where it just sits on the grid within town. And there's not a lot that we can do to place it at a different place on the grid. We could potentially argue for like a step increase, but that would be hard if the person doesn't have any direct experience. I know being a teacher is sort of indirect experience, but so that's
Yeah.
I think we're all aware that number isn't ideal. But I don't know how much we're able to fudge it.
No,
Yeah.
we probably aren't. I was disappointed. I was hoping the fact that it was longer than an extended school year program
Right.
was going to have some of an impact, but from everybody I've spoken to, they're like, no, I couldn't sell my soul for that rate. So
Huh.
I hate to say it that way. I would have sold my soul for that rate. I would have.
Yeah.
Yep. I had reached out to Northbridge, Westboro, North and Southboro, and Touchstone.
Yeah.
As far as school districts, and North and Southboro HR person for the school district did post it.
Yeah.
And then Sally at Touchstone, obviously a small organization, she talked to her staff as well. I haven't heard back from Westboro, and Northbridge said, I mean, I haven't heard from Northbridge, but Westboro said they have no mechanism for it or some weird thing. So I would need to like drive there and go visit the principal and put up a flyer somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Only if we knew someone that lived in Westboro.
Yeah.
that's right.
I know. If
Right.
this was before town meeting, I could go up and, point of order. I have something to say.
As far as the kids at play staff things, just for learnings for like the next cycle next year.
Yeah.
What could we do different to increase it, or is it just like one of those odd years that for whatever reason
Yeah,
no returners and all that?
right. Yeah, I think to be fully honest, our lack of retention is a bigger issue than our applicants. Like, sure, if you get 200 applicants, you're bound to have enough good ones, right?
Right.
But I think the bigger thing is when good staff don't want to come back. And that's something that, I mean, we talk about at every returner interview. We talk about in all the prep for training. We talk about at training. We talk about in our meetings during the summer with the staff.
Right.
And
Right.
the biggest thing that we hear from all staff is it gets really exhausting. They all, people come out really thinking it's going to be like a fun loving job, and it is, but you're still taking care of children day after day after day, and the
Right.
heat and the outside and the weather and the, last year there was a lot of serious drama, that you all are
Right.
aware of. And I think that took a really big toll. We had people calling out for mental health days, which we hadn't had before.
Yeah. I think
So
you mentioned that a couple of meetings ago. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I think it hit people that this was a job and it was taxing and they weren't necessarily looking for that again. And then the other thing is, I think we have a big divide, just the nature of this age group. You have a big divide between people who step up and do an absolutely wonderful, fantastic job, and people who treat it a little bit more as a clock in and clock out. And the
Right.
clock in and clock out is its own thing, right? No one's asking you to give 180%, if you do the job, that's cool. But it means the people who are giving that above and beyond are
Right.
just getting even more depleted. And so we're really trying to problem solve like how, it's little things. Like I was telling people, don't pick up the shifts when somebody's putting it up for a sub, but they feel guilty, and so they pick it up. So then they don't get a day
Mm.
off. So it's a lot of cultural
Right.
stuff around that. But then you lose them because by the end of the summer, they're like, I never want to do that again. I'm so taxed. I couldn't imagine it. When really, if they took that day off, if they, went for a walk during their lunch break instead of hanging out with the kids, like little things that we try to talk
Yeah.
about, but they
Mm-hmm.
they don't do it until it's too late and then they're too far gone. So we have to
Yeah.
figure that out in real time of how do we, we talked about it at training last year. We'll need to do an even better job this year, but retention. I think that is
Yeah.
our number one
Got it.
issue.
Is there
Yep.
any degree of just certain bubbles of kids? Like we had this great bubble of kids and then they moved on and we haven't had a bubble in a while.
Of what do you mean?
Like
Returners?
counselors, sometimes you get a year where you've got like 7 of them and everything goes great for maybe 2 years or so. And then they all move on. They all graduate and go to college.
Yeah, so actually I think my first year I would say was maybe the best example of that. And there were, I can think off the top of my head, 4 college age kids who were all team leaders, and they rallied people. They were the heart and
Yeah.
soul of not the burnout of let's keep it cheery, let's keep it fun, who wants to hang
Yeah.
out after work.
Right.
And it was something you can't create, right? They had it
Yeah.
and they were friends and they made it there. They were juniors and seniors in college, and there's
And now they're
really
gone.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So finding, I don't know if, I was even thinking, can we look into the volunteer organizations at the school to kind of look for the type of kid? But then I don't know if that's bad practice to say that style of kid we're looking for. But I don't know. I don't really know how to attract the type of kid at the high school age so that we get them for many years.
Right.
But
I don't know enough about National Honor Society to know if that's something we could tap into and they could start their hours early,
yeah.
because that's the type of person without a doubt.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yes and no. I actually get a large number of reference requests because I'm often people's one and only job at that point when they're applying. And from the people who have asked for references, I would say it's about 50-50 to people who I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like you're that style. And other people where they weren't our best employee, again, they were fine, but
Yeah.
they weren't someone that I would say I'm seeking out you.
Okay.
So I think sometimes academic and the
Yeah.
magic that we're looking for don't always go together. Again, about half of them were exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I'm just sort of rolling out ideas because we've got a lot of National Honor students that do volunteer work in my school. So, they're working with 2nd through 6th graders and doing great work. But again, that's a little more academically based. So sure.
Right. But like you said, I'm sure you could probably easily name, start naming people that you're like, they would be great. So again, it's nothing to bash it. There are wonderful people. If anyone's listening to this, there are wonderful people who are in National Honor Society who are the type we're looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think I can do a little more digging to find out if there's a way that you can tap into them earlier, if they can start their hours the summer prior to, or any carryover, probably not carryover, but maybe summer prior.
Yeah.
Because
That'd
there
be
are
great.
a lot of sports-minded individuals in National Honors.
True.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's finding the people who are willing to figure out how to caretake a child, because that is, you get a lot of people who want to play kickball all day and you need that. And then you get a lot of people who want to talk about feelings all day and you need that. But if you don't have the I'm going to be that person who takes the kid who's just crying for 45 minutes straight and, they do it twice a week. If you don't have that, it's really taxing.
Yeah. We've got the school adjustment counselor wannabes that we need to pull out of National Honor Society.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. But yeah, No, I think retention and staff, because I think good staff staying will attract their good staff style friends by saying like, hey, you'd be
Yes.
perfect for this. But if we start getting a reputation that it's not a place you want to work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
but yeah, the biggest stressor, I mean, we've all talked about it, is just what the summer will look like if we don't find kind of that style person. So I definitely appreciate, you all already pinging schools, and we'll keep seeing what avenues. I'm even wondering, like, there's a higher ed jobs platform. I don't know if we're allowed to post in there, or a recreation, there's one called Bluefish Jobs, which is for people in the recreation field. I don't know if I'm allowed to post in there for something like this, but maybe some of those just even job, can this go on Indeed? I don't know.
Right.
Is it worth talking to, like, maybe you've already done this, like talking to Grafton, Westboro Rec, and see kind of what their strategies are for recruiting? And are
Yeah.
they encountering the same issues that we're encountering?
Yeah, I mean, I could
and
definitely
hit the same waves. Yeah.
Right. I could definitely reach out. I know previously, and I don't know if things have changed, but I know previously when we used to have those like Central Mass Rec
Mm-hmm.
get together meetings, we haven't done one in, I would say, at least a year, or about a year. But
That's too
a
bad.
lot of people have coordinators and assistant directors, and so I think
I see.
often that style person tends to be the point person for the summer program, so that the director can kind of stay that higher level.
Right.
So, like, I know Grafton has more than one staff, I know Westboro has more than one staff, so I think most of them do it in that way. I know, for instance, Mendon, where they don't even have a full-time rec person because he's split between rec and DPW. They have a teacher who runs it every year, and that's just, he runs the summer program, and he's been doing it forever. And
Mhm.
they've even said, we don't know what we would do if he left, because like, he is the summer program.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So I think that's obviously what we would love to find. But I think since we're sort of in the middle between those two scenarios, it's a
Right.
little bit more of a gray area. I would be
Yeah.
interested. I never looked it up, but I don't know what that person is being paid.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Like the Grafton
With the
people were
public
super helpful. I
schools-
reached out to them for field trip ideas, and they got back to me like almost immediately. Like several of them did.
Yeah,
So they're
that's
very
wonderful.
good if we want to
Yeah.
tap into those guys.
Yeah.
And just have a conversation over Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Does is it Merced? How do we say it? Mendon Upton Regional School District, however you say that. Do they have a rec director? I feel like Grafton has one. And I'm wondering if that person could be collaborative.
You mean different than like an athletic director?
It might be the athletic director. I'm just
Mm.
thinking of somebody I met just by happenstance when I went to a holiday fair and purchased a very nice Grafton t-shirt for $1 because they were trying to get rid of their surplus.
Perfect.
Was
Yeah.
his
Well, I
name
mean, that's
was his name Jay?
I don't recall his name. He was very friendly though. Tall, skinny.
Yeah.
You think you
well,
know
that's
Jay?
actually a really good idea, because maybe there's someone, a coach or someone that we're not, the notice isn't getting out to them, but
Right.
Rick, I'm picturing like a Chris Hadfield style person who's maybe doing a lot of other little things, weekends or whatever, but maybe they have some free time, or they want to send their kid there, so why not go and run it while their kid's there, type of thing.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah,
hurt.
and-
So that's a good idea, Laura.
And of course, Chris has his own thing, right? And that's, so the unfortunate part is there's competition across the two towns,
Right.
right? For the Next Step Sports Academy, right? And SSA is Chris's thing, and yeah, so
Regional school districts, darn it.
yeah.
Luckily, his
Well-
is a little bit more sports and skills focused.
His-
It's really for
His
the.
is definitely a sports focused thing. Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to directly go up against Chris. side by side.
Yeah, his wife's into it too, so
Yeah.
it's I guess it's just in the blood, I guess is how I'll say it. So yeah.
But yeah, so for director's report, I think that's probably obviously the biggest thing going on. But the interviews are all finished. I technically have two. I'll reach out to Nick. I I think he actually interviewed. I might be remembering wrong because like I said, I've done 90 something interviews at this point.
Right.
But I think he already interviewed, and at the end of each interview, we kind of do the spiel of this is a process. We'll start getting back to people probably mid-April, blah 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 blah. You know, we kind of go through it. So unless I'm picturing his last year interview, I think he was in the room and sat there and went through it and all that. But yeah, I'll reach out to him, and then I have one more lifeguard. He's a returner. He's at college, and anyway, I'll interview him this week.
Well, that's,
But
the
that's
one that I
it.
sent you. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And then yeah, Jackson. So I've been talking to him. And then
Good.
really the only other stuff, so yeah, the first day of pickleball instruction was today. Like I said, last week's got canceled because there was a funeral. So we did push it back a week, and then we're going to extend it a week. It is gonna be a little bit taking up more of that tennis court time from Kids at Play, but I think it's worth it considering it's a new program we're trying to run and it would be good. Unfortunately, it didn't sell out, and it actually was technically below her normal class minimum. So she has a class of 8 as the max, and she typically runs a minimum of 6. For us, especially this first year, she's willing to do less. We just agreed on a flat fee to make sure she still gets paid fairly. But yeah, we only had 5 and 4 for the noon and then 1 o'clock today sessions. And then in the spring, I don't even think we have that much. So we want to do a little bit more marketing. I think probably I probably took it a little too lightly and said pickleball, of course it'll sell out. Everyone loves it. But I don't know if we got the word out enough, and I don't think I took it seriously enough to say, all right, people love pickleball, but they have to know that we're doing it too.
And they'll find
sign up.
they'll find it on their own to sign up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want a
So-
new flyer for that, Maria?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah,
like I
let
think-
me excite it up again.
Perfect. That would be great.
Make it look a little more pretty, put it out there. I'll get it to you. You get it out there.
Wonderful.
Again, I know I failed. I really apologize, but
No, I don't think you failed, and I don't know if you saw the emails flying around about the numbers, but we're right on par with where we were last year. So we're doing
Good.
all right. Yeah.
good. I'll make another one prettier than the last to the best of my ability.
As long as it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
So-
fun. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I had a blast.
Right?
I
That
spent an
program's pretty
entire-
cool.
I spent an entire Saturday doing it and didn't do a lick of my actual work. And I was like, this was way better than real work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
choose it as my real work.
Yeah.
I
Laura,
don't
once
blame
you get,
you. I might need to make a career change.
Yeah.
Once you get that done, send it to me, and I can go post it at the senior center, library, laundromat, like all these places. So
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll let Maria know when it's uploaded, and then Maria, can you get it to Chris?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I think
And
that's
Chris,
the way
actually, Chris, you have the login too. So Laura, if you just email both of us, he can log in and download it
Yeah.
right off poster my
Okay,
wall.
perfect.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yep.
works.
I gave it to both of you so that everyone has access.
Yep.
That works. And if I feel excited, I'll make a few other things.
Wonderful. Yeah, and then Laura, just while we're on the topic of marketing, I think there's probably another round of registration for archery. So if we want to do another blast out for that, I know we talked about where you can check the dates, but I know you said you've been busy. So I have a feeling that we're kind of in that registration time for another
Yeah.
round of the next archery session. And then
Yep.
Kids at Play, I typically just kind of keep it going every couple of weeks, few weeks, whatever.
Yep.
I do another ping of Kids at Play registration. I still haven't heard back from DPW about the beach dates, and I know again we're gonna discuss it, so maybe it all worked out. But so I haven't asked Laura or posted anything about beach rates or dates because those typically go together.
Yep.
But
Right.
that needs to happen soon. Typically we were originally scheduled to open May 30th, so that's a month and a half away. and DPW needs to know their schedule. So I know we'll talk about dates later, but I still haven't
Yep.
heard back. And then the other part is I don't currently have keys to the beach office because Dennis changed the keys. I had asked him to just leave, a set in my mailbox so that I could just grab them. So I need to kind of remind him, hey, can you do that? Because the A-frames for Kids at Play marketing that we typically
Mhm.
put around at the intersections are in the beach office. And now that I know it snowed yesterday, but otherwise now that it's done with with winter
Yeah.
weather, we can start putting those out, and
Oh, I
that
think
at
that'd
least
be
can get the
great.
deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can
I
go grab
typically do it
those.
after the last snow.
Yeah, do we do we need to refresh what's on those A-frame things? I think we do, right?
So for Kids at Play, no, I don't put any dates or anything.
Oh,
I
okay.
just the only thing
It's
that's on
just
there, which people are
general.
typically driving, so they probably just have to search Kids at Play or have heard of it. But I do have a QR code. The QR code just brings them to our main website page.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I did that so that we can use them as long as they don't look too ratty. It was the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
frame.
And I
Um,
think, that was the whole purpose of keeping them somewhat generic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
friendly reminder that it's open and available for signups, but
Right.
not having any specific week in, week out dates that we know we're gonna need to change every season. So,
correct.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
So
goes up on that town sign at the town hall or right near it at some point
So
soon. Yes.
Yeah, so just because typically I coordinate with Denise based on what she needs. So I think the latest one was something about boards and whatever. And I typically
Yeah.
ask her there's often around now a long break before she puts up the stuff about town meeting. But since I'm
Okay.
not in, I just haven't been doing that. But I would guess right around now is probably when we get that little gap of a couple of weeks before she'll post the town meeting ones. Um, Honestly, I go into her office and I grab the box of letters and I kind of count them all out and spell it out and then go up and slide them into that sign.
Oh, you
Um,
literally put them up there. Okay.
yeah, oh no,
Risking
I
life and limb, huh?
physically put them up there. It gives you that chalkboard feeling. It's terrible, but
Yes.
but we
Yes.
have.
I mean, do you want me to go down and do that, or
If it's fun, I won't say no. Yeah, that would be wonderful. And
I
you
can
can again
play?
just check in
Yeah.
with Denise and ask about the timing.
Yeah, I
That
see
would be
Denise
great.
a couple of times a week. Yeah, I can play Vanna White, so it'll be
Great.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When else
And
do
I
you get
keep
to do that, Chris?
right. Yeah, you can have one of those twirly signs at an intersection. Kids at Play.
There you go.
I,
And the sandwich board things, like if I find the keys in the mailbox magically, then I can go grab those. And where do you put them? I know there's one in the intersection to the high school,
Yep, there's one at
right?
the intersection to the high school. I
Yeah,
think
It's
I know
that
what you mean.
four-way stop, the four-way
Yeah.
stop of the railroad
Yeah,
tracks.
at Mendon
Yep.
Street. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
Mendon
And
and
then-
Grove.
Yeah. And where's the other one?
So there's
You should-
3 total.
Oh, 3. Okay.
There's one that's the intersection right by Pratt Pond, that big, busy
Oh, yeah.
intersection. They actually just redid the little like island grassy area. So the hard part about that is angles because it's kind of I know it's a
Yeah,
4-way
yeah.
stop, but the angles are weird. I typically just try to have it the direction of Hopkinton Road to up the hill. But if I can sneak it a little bit so that people going kind of
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
direction, Upton and all Westboro Road and all that.
Okay.
But mainly I just have it facing forward and back from Hopkinton Road up.
At the light.
It is scary though. I have to pull over my car and sign on your shoulder and scurry across the road and
Yeah.
don't get hit by a car.
I can walk there. It's okay.
There you go. The A-frames are heavier than I always expect.
And where does the third one go?
You all know street names better than me. I
Just
know
give us
where it is.
landmarks.
It's I think it's Grove and Mendon.
Okay.
Right on that other island that's up near the church. Right where Trask property is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I know
Yeah,
exactly where
I
that is.
think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yep.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Man, I don't know intersections.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
all
Right.
landmark
I know,
But-
to me.
I know what you're
But in
saying.
essence, they're all
Turn
in
right at the
islands, right?
Dunkin'.
yeah, they're all on little islands. There's like
They're,
3
they're
islands
all on
around
little
town.
islands.
I
It's,
know the
it's
islands.
the island,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
as you're coming down from the church, right?
Yep.
It's that island there before you go off on Grove.
Yeah.
I know where all those three are, so we're good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
again,
so
just
should-
the angle is the only thing, thinking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
where cars can see it.
Where
I
to-
just picked the
yeah.
busiest direction. That's the angle I go with.
Okay. And should I bug Dennis for the keys or?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'll
okay,
say
can do
yes because
that.
I think email these days isn't really working. Rick, I
Any
was going
chance
to
of
ask
getting
you
more of those or no?
keys.
No,
Oh.
trifolds, too late in the game.
We can, I mean, if we want to, budgetary wise, we can get them printed. They are like usually a couple $100.
Really?
I kind of missed the
wondering if
question. What was the question?
If we could get a couple more of them, I'm just thinking there might be a couple more places in town. I don't know. If it's not worth the money, it's not worth the money. You think we're hitting the big sites?
I think for where we're at right now, I think we hit the three big sites.
Yeah,
I'm nervous on the spend, to be honest with you.
yeah. Right, so
Right,
maybe
not
next
that-
year.
Not that it's huge, right? And you know,
No,
it's
but
not,
it is big.
yeah, it's,
Yes,
well, it's just, you know, with the court resurfacing stuff hitting the main account, it
Yeah.
kind of threw everything for a loop. So,
Right.
Yep.
What we could do though is potentially do all the groundwork with Signs Plus and kind of
Yep.
finagle it so July 1st, boom, that's the date of payout and service and all of that. And even if it's not, because when I was saying a couple $100, we literally don't have the frames. We use all of the actual physical frames, so those are a couple $100.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the signs, are on top of that. The nice thing is it's a one-time expense because you can use it for a handful
All
of
right.
years.
Right.
yeah,
right.
But even those, I'm picturing like the candidate style signs,
Mm-hmm.
or like
Yeah.
men's club uses them, like even something
Like
like
the
that
lawn
might be a
signs,
lower
yeah.
cost. And
Oh, yeah,
again,
those
if-
things are
Yeah.
cheap.
and
yeah.
and we could get 10, 20, like that would be maybe the more, they don't last as long, but if we're careful with them, cost effective
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
option. And again, we could even still wait till July 1st if we're worried about this year, but just have
Yeah.
it be like, hey, July 1st, can we do it?
Yeah.
Print them.
I may, maybe I'll talk with Jeb as well. Soccer used to have 5 of them, I think. I know
Aprons?
that, yeah. Or sandwich boards, right? So, so they have populated a sign on like respect the call, right? Things for officials that they put out on the field. So they may all be in use throughout the season, but if they're not, then maybe there's an opportunity to grab one or two of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good.
I
We
can certainly
also
ask, yeah.
do keep one, sorry, I just remembered this. We keep one upstairs at storage at the library, and then they put it out by the parking lot entrance for the season.
For the kids at play.
For kids at play, yeah, but
Oh,
they
good,
just store it
okay.
upstairs at the library because there's no reason for us to store it down at
Right.
the beach when we just go in and out every
Right.
year.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good. 'Cause
yeah,
that's a great location.
Yeah.
People go by there now that it's community building, very big.
Yeah.
yep. And obviously
I-
our core attendee is gonna go into the library often.
Yeah. I posted it on their bulletin board, but that bulletin board is like it's not, you can't see it. So, but should I go to the library and see if they have it out or?
Yeah, I usually talk, Matthew or Leanne, they typically know where it is, but if anybody asks, it's upstairs in storage. They always forget it's there, and then we just carry it out. Sometimes they ask, do we want to just have it left out all season or in and out? I tell them I let them pick. I don't mind if it's left out overnight. All of the other ones are left out overnight, but I
Mhm.
know the first year they took it in and out every night. And I said, if you want to, sure.
Right.
I also let them know that I make my best guess in terms of sightlines because it is hard where we put it if you're trying to exit, sometimes it makes looking left a little bit hard. So I
Mm.
generally try to look at that, but I tell them like obviously move it however you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check on that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with Kids at Play thing is for the scholarship application. I know last meeting we said it was going to be up on April 1st. I see the old one. They're hard to find anyway, but I
Yeah.
saw the 2024 one. Is the 2025 one application posted or no?
So I don't know. I haven't heard back from Katie. Actually, now that you're saying that, it's possible she emailed me today. But
Yeah.
so I had sent them the form a month ago. And then they
Okay.
said, whoops, sorry, we got stressed. So like a week ago, they came back with some edits. I sent them the final draft, and then I haven't heard anything. Although now that you're saying that, I might have gotten an email today. But once they have to do the okay, because it's actually technically Katie's process. But
Yeah.
once
Okay.
they do the okay, we can put it up everywhere. Let me actually just so we can actually get the answer. Let me see if I'm correct that I saw an email from
Yeah,
Katie
I
today.
think, yeah, because I think I was on it because they copied me seeing
Yep.
that you may be out of the office. So
Yeah.
I do recall seeing something come across.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
it too.
Oh,
Yep.
it was yesterday, but yes. Yep. It says everything looks good, so it looks like we can get that posted.
Good.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Perfect.
Because
Yep.
I do know that there's a few that are inquiring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple standards that do it every year. And then the only one that's outstanding is we did separate the field trip application from the other application.
Right.
Because it just gets too confusing when it's together. So that one I haven't built yet. But it should be relatively quick and easy to build it once we're
Sure.
ready. And that'll really be Chris, once you and I feel good about that being like the solid schedule, then we'll post that one. But it can be, I mean, honestly, I think last year we posted it like 3 weeks before camp started or 2 weeks before camp started
Yeah.
because that's much less of a worry than the childcare side of things for people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then for the scholarship application thing, one of the messages I got back from Katie was she usually works with you to run through the applications and then actually tell the people who are applying what they got for it. Are you still going to do that, or do you want me to do it, or what?
It really depends on when we start doing this. So, we'll post it. Seems like we can just like post it. I can get it posted, right away. And
Mhm.
then sometimes it can take Katie weeks to, go through it all with them on the back end of reviewing their financials and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So if we're getting into like mid-May, I can definitely take that over because that's when I'm back to, full-time or more full-time.
Mhm.
Before that, I don't know if I would be responsive enough because I'll be honest, I kind of look into my email about once a week these days. Other than just kind of double checking an email came in, is it time sensitive or not? And if it's not, I leave it.
Yep.
But I can send you what I sent them last year. It's just kind of a standard, like it's what Katie said, you have been approved of blah, 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 and I have added those funds to your account. You're all set to use them for Kids at Play and extended day, blah, blah, blah. So I can send you what I sent out last year. The harder part, which it's not hard to do, but it's just a process, is actually adding the funds to their account through MyRec. So
Yeah.
that's just the step that I might be able to just write up a quick how-to. I don't think it's a current how-to that we have.
I don't think that one is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't think I've made it, when I've been kind of trying to add, I don't think I've made that one because it's so specific. But maybe I can write up a super quick how-to. It's just good to have, and
Yeah.
then I can
Yep.
send that over to you, Chris.
Okay.
And Rick, I know you already know how to do it, so if you were the one, I'll send it to
well,
both of you.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that, some of these that we've been changing around and doing some stuff, it's taken me a little bit of time to go, wait a minute, how the heck do we, like, even the hey, I don't want the 1 o'clock. I really wanted the 12 o'clock. Can you move me? Yeah, no problem. Right. It's been interesting on trying to make some of those moves. So
Yeah, remember
Yeah.
how to do it
So
all.
send me
Yeah.
the
I
letter
get there.
thing.
It just takes me longer. Yeah.
Yeah, send me the letter thing and send me what is it called? Rec something or other?
My rec is the
My rec.
like our website,
Yeah,
and that's
Okay.
where I add like a account credit for them in the amount. The hard part is, and this is tough that, of course this year we're trying something new and it's the year that I'm not in as much, but Kenny had asked that we separate the dates that they are approved for that are before the end of the fiscal year need to be
Wow.
tallied, and then the dates after. So if they get approved for 9 weeks, we need to put 1 week aside as the FY25 and then
Mm,
8 weeks aside, including
yeah,
extended days,
yeah, yeah,
including
yeah, yeah.
Right.
field trips,
right.
because that will help. And then Katie needs to submit a like account transfer for the end of FY25 and then for the FY26 bunch.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
that tracking, we had talked about how we wanted to do it, and we really hadn't come to a conclusion. I think we were talking in like December or something. So we really hadn't come to a conclusion, thinking we were going to be having a lot more conversations right now.
Mhm.
So just figuring out how to have like on our books designated
Right.
that. I think Katie does to an extent some on her end just to keep track of it because she is responsible for the fund that it's coming out of.
Mhm.
Yep.
But on our end, I just want to make sure that we can kind of be her double check.
Yep.
So that would be the
Understood.
really only thing is that anything that we put up as an account transfer, we have to write this is the FY25 portion and this is the FY26
Okay.
portion.
Yep.
Yep, got it. And and quite honestly, if they're in and they're signing up now, they're signing up for say the first 2 weeks. We could, put the credit in there for those 2 weeks. They can sign up for those other future weeks, and we can leave that looking like an outstanding balance for the time for that time being, right?
Yes and no. One of the things, and this, I hope this doesn't come across judgy in a bad way, but often the style of person who applies for these are single parents, working
Yep.
multiple jobs, things of that sort. They're busy. So the idea of asking them to come back and do a new thing
Right.
later
Right.
when they're thinking done,
Cinnabots. Yeah.
is just
But
an extra step on them. I
yeah,
think for us it's just a note, hey Kenny, here's the amount we gave them. One this portion is for this and that portion's for that, and we can just do it internally. Because
Mhm.
then they can just register
yeah.
across,
Well,
yeah.
and quite honestly, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they could go in and they could register for all 9 weeks at once, right? And just put it all in and keep it all on credit, right?
Right.
Not pay it, or pay whatever piece that they may be obligated to if it's not fully covered,
Yeah.
right? And then we then can go in at one point for the rest of this fiscal year.
Yes.
And then it would really be on us to then go in a second time in the next fiscal year and say, okay, now I've got X amount and we can now apply it against week 3, week 4, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Right.
if we do it that way, I think that would probably help keep it clean with Kenny as
Yes.
well.
Yep.
Mhm.
I think that's fine. And really the only thing we went back and forth on, and again, it's minor, we'll figure it out, is if Katie was, so it made sense. Katie's going to submit an
Yep.
end of FY25 one because that's the fiscal year. But
Yep.
we had gone back and forth. Is she going to submit one at the end of each month? So is she going to submit a July one and then an August one? The nice thing about that is for us tracking our financials, we're seeing those hits.
Yep.
It's just double the work for her, whereas otherwise she could just say, and here's the rest. And in my mind, the reason I am kind of leaning towards don't worry about it is one, just again, the spreading out and then refunds and cancellations. Sometimes it's nicer to just be able to look at what happened at the end. And two, I don't know if I necessarily like doing extra work when there's nothing that we're going to do about it, right? Like
Yeah.
seeing what happened
Yeah.
in July from it, we're not going to make any decisions or changes or actions based on that information.
Right.
So it's good
Good point.
information, but we can,
Yeah.
talk about it year to year instead of in July saying, we're gonna
Yeah.
hope more people apply. Like, I don't know, there's nothing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
that's just my feeling. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So staying with Kids at Play,
Yes.
we've got the weekly that registrations that are open for daily as well. And when does daily get turned on?
Yep, it turned on automatically April 1st and it's open now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I was just peeking and going, okay, is that why I'm now seeing 3 registrants as a daily, like a single day,
Maybe.
right? So if I were to look at, look in the system right now, it basically, there's 3 people that are signed up for a single day,
Great.
right? Everyone else is weekly, right?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Pretty much,
and
yeah.
the whole reason why I say that is for the email traffic that I sent around, I don't know, 10 days ago, something like that. I think we were up to 24-ish, right? Which is much higher than, it was 8 higher than last year,
Right.
right? So that was actually goodness, but all of those are weekly focused. Right. None of
Mhm.
those were daily focused. So now's the time where it starts to get a little muddy, because now, we're looking at numbers and going, hey, okay, the numbers are starting to spike. Well, yeah, they are, but not in the weekly way we were hoping that they were going to spike. Right. There may be a lot more daily ones that are starting to come in.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. So, how we doing with field trip stuff?
Good. Yeah, I can pull a couple of things up. Let's see. Share something. Window. Yeah, so this is the. How do I get this to bigger?
Yep. Okay.
Can you guys see that okay? Or
Can you make it a tiny bit bigger?
I'm trying to figure out how to do.
Down at the bottom,
Bottom
right? You see
right.
there's a plus sign next to the 51%.
Yeah.
Keep going to the right, down and to the right. Keep coming. Right. That plus sign right next to the 51. Just to the left of the 51%.
I gotta do something weird with the window here because I'm not seeing that. Let's see if I can do it this way. For God's sake.
Maybe view at the top, the view.
Yeah, that might work better.
There's like a zoom. There we go, right in the middle.
There we go.
No, just go to like 66. Yeah.
Yeah, or 100 might be fine.
You're thinking like my glasses though, Chris. I understand.
What if you hit fit to window? It's right next to zoom. Nope. I tried.
All right, I'm gonna do better than this. 66%.
Perfect.
I was aiming too high. All right.
That's great.
There we go.
Yeah, so I got this middle block from Southwick to Breezy Water Park nailed down. If you could send me, Maria, the urban air information that you have.
Oh yeah, let me do that right now.
I can do the kind of costing thing. And we can discuss that offline, how you calculate that. I think I got it, but if we could meet for like 10 or 15 minutes one of these upcoming days, then we can nail down the prices.
Yep.
I've talked with Kimball Farms, and they sent me something, because I got that from Grafton. They actually sent me their costing and everything for Grafton. And they have actually a package that you have to have at least 50 kids go. And they provide like lunch, and it's more expansive. The one that I got from Kimball Farms was lower than 50, and it's not as great, I don't think. But I don't know if we can get 50 for Kimball Farms or not. I'm just wondering what you think, because we have to pay for 50 regardless if we get them or not.
Do you mean attendees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did that last year. I think we paid for 50 because we have to pay for staff.
Right.
And it's 45 on the bus. And so we figured if we jump up to 2 buses, we'll obviously be over. But if we stay at 1 bus, we're only paying for 5 extra people. And the price still was close enough to the other field trips that it didn't seem.
Okay. Okay. So that's what I'll go on then for them. So
Yeah.
they're engaged, and then Ecotarium for the last one I needed to fill in. They need to get back to me. I bugged them a few times and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll call you," because I need to figure out what that package looks like and what they will do. There are just various different options, and I want to nail that down. But other than that, I think, once I figure out the pricing for these, I think these can all be posted pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we can go forward from there. So yeah, and I talked to the bus company. They gave me prices pretty much right away. When I added on Kimball Farms, they added that on right away. I haven't talked to them about Ecotarium yet, but I got all the pricing from them as well. So should
That's
be
great.
good.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Wish I went to more of these.
Seriously. You might have a volunteer on your hands because I've not done most of these.
Yeah, so they're pretty much filled out, I think. Within a week or two, I think should have all the pricings down. And then again, if I can meet with you for like 10 or 15 minutes, Maria, we can determine how you did the pricing for last year, and I can apply that for this one, and then they can be posted and posted on my rec with the per kid price kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. For some reason I'm not finding it, but I'll look later and I'll figure it out. I know we talked about the date, so I just don't have the times and the cost, but I'll pull that up when we're not in this meeting.
For Urban Air?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna
good.
find the email real quick, but I think it's under a staff's name instead of name or Urban Air, and I'll figure it out.
Got it.
But yeah, so quickly, just with the pricing, I think really what we did was we pretty much just bumped it up to the closest 5.
Right.
Unless I remember there was one field trip last year that seemed really cool, but was for some reason really cheap, and I don't remember which one it was. So we bumped it up 10 just because
Right,
then it
it's
was
the
more in
baseball
line.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the baseball game is like $10 for lunch and the game, and
Yeah.
we could bump that up some. Yeah, the Bravehearts game.
Because I think we ended up ranging between like 30 and 45 or something. The math you have to make sure you're including is the bus cost
Yep.
in it. So that's why I'd kind of
Mhm.
do the number of buses plus for all the kids. Are they doing staff? Some you pay for staff, some you don't pay for staff. So figuring out that
Right.
cost. And then again, it comes to a cost per kid because we're not getting money in from the staff, so it has to be divided by 35, not 45, even if we're paying for 45. So anyway, that's kind of the like math that we do. But then
Okay.
once we get the cost per kid, so for instance, Southwick, right, in my mind, that goes to 45. And then
Yeah.
Davis seems high. I don't remember Davis Farmland being that high last year.
Yeah,
That
so I
does seem
did,
high.
let's see.
Um,
It's not pulling up the cells. Oh, this is because it's on PowerPoint.
okay.
I did it based on the contract they sent over, or the estimate they sent over.
Yeah. Also,
I
it's looking like the bus cost is much higher,
might be
right?
a
That's
bit higher. I looked
575.
at those. Yeah, I did look at last year's versus this year's, and they're
Yeah.
fairly close. I mean, it's not that much off. I can relook at that. It seemed high to me too, but yeah,
Yeah. Because that
I'll
would be the
take a
only
look.
thing, if we can cut off, there are some that are it's 300, it's 450, it's 350. So if we can cut off a couple $100, that would bring the price per kid down. But that one, I don't think people are gonna pay for Davis at 50 something dollars.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
last year we maxed out at 45, and I think that was actually Urban Air.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we do, so I counted that as cost times 45 versus
Okay.
35.
Yeah.
And if I do 35, then it's $45 up kid.
Right.
But I mean, we have to pay for the chaperones too, right?
So no, because we're already paying them, they would already be at Kids at Play. Yep.
Okay, got
So
it. Yeah.
we have to pay for the chaperones to go to the field trip. So we have to do it based off of the cost of 45 people, but then we have to divide by 35 for how to distribute that cost per kid.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
All right.
that's right. But there are some places like I'm not positive, but I want to say
Yeah.
Urban Air, where if the staff aren't bouncing, then we don't pay for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
It depends
that's
on
where
the
it gets a
place.
little murky with the specific
Okay.
numbers. Yeah.
I'll
Yep.
relook into that though, and then once I get it settled in my mind, we can meet for like 10 or 15 minutes and
Great.
go through it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
and
pretty
I'll
much
look
all
up
set.
that agreement. I feel like we did it in
Yeah.
like January. So
The other thing is, where is this? The ad went out actually today,
nice. That's awesome.
so I just want to show you guys what that looks like.
Look.
Woo!
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
they designed it, which was really great, at no cost. This is pretty small though,
that.
right?
Yeah, but that's
That's
I mean,
great.
it is, but the size of
That's
that.
nice.
Yeah.
No, I
that's-
mean
that's
for
like,
you guys to see it, it's small.
Oh.
But
I
yeah.
don't see that as being small. That
Yeah.
that looks
No,
like
no,
it's
I mean, me
2/3 of.
presenting it to you over Teams looks small, but it's
Oh,
a
I can still see it.
it's literally more than a quarter of the page, which is great.
Yeah.
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 That's wonderful.
And then the
And
other
it's
thing
bright.
they did was they put in the narrative also in
Ooh.
kind of events as well. So this has a
Nice.
description that I penned based on some of the stuff that was online, at the rec site already, and then added a few things in. And then it has the, if you're interested, go to uptonrec.com kind of thing at the bottom.
Nice.
Wonderful.
So that
Chris.
went out, and that was actually cheaper than I was quoted. I don't know why, but they sent me the invoice, and it wasn't 400 and something. It was like $305. So
That's great.
I'm not going
Sweet.
to ask any
That's
questions.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
Hurry up and pay it, close it, and be done. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks great.
No, that's good. And yeah, I mean, I know Chris, you and I talked about it, but 2 kids sign up for a week based on that, and that pays for itself.
Exactly.
It's paid.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt.
And yeah, that's all I had with regard to field trips and the ad. And then again, I posted the flyer at the senior center. Those people don't have kids, but they may have grandkids. And the library, I'll visit the library and have them put the sandwich board out, and I put it at the laundromat place. And I went to the school, and they're like, "No, you got to do this through the school district." I'm like, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah.
That's a school for you.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
How about the super?
Oh yeah, I
Chris,
should go
how
down
about the
there.
super?
I can go down there and do that. Yep. I've got a few in the car, so I can do that.
You always miss the ones closest to you.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, so how about concerts? I think you had
Okay.
concerts on that same deck, just the
It's on
page
the same
before.
deck. Exactly.
I couldn't read it, but I knew what it was.
Yes.
Oh.
So again, I think I need to zoom. It's
Looks
already
like
at
you're
100.
at.
You-
It looks
you
like you're
can-
at 66. Yeah.
Is that okay or no? Bigger?
Try going up to 100.
It's
All
okay
right.
with me, but yeah.
You have better eyes than me.
All right. Is that good?
That's great.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I've done is, going down to the budget. So from last year we had 1,500 carryover.
Yep.
I'm using 1,000 of that to pay for Moxie, which is the first band in
Okay.
fiscal year last year, right?
Yep.
Or this year, I guess you would say.
25. Yeah.
So they're June 25th. So that covers for Moxie. And then our budget for 26 is 6,500.
Yep.
So I added on I've got Pocket Change, August 6th. I've got Tim Buono and his brother Jim, I guess, or somebody named Jim.
Oh,
I've,
interesting.
I've got Gainesville Road. They are, I gotta make this a little bit smaller, sorry. Got Gainesville Road. Where the hell are they? They're on here somewhere. I think they're like
They're
in,
under Tim Buono.
yeah, but I'm not seeing where I scheduled them for some reason.
Oh,
Maybe
Oh,
after
you know what?
August 6th.
I cut it off like because I tried to make this smaller, but it is
Yeah.
it's the next week in August. It's August.
It's on the
It's
13th.
the
Okay.
14th or
Yeah.
13th. Yeah, the 13th. I've got Roger That Band. I've got Band from Uncle and Moxie. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bands on.
And then Avery Markle.
And Avery Markle, she's agreed as well, and they're August 21st, I think, or 20th.
Ooh,
So they've
okay.
signed on. So I've got all of the performer agreements in and W9s where I need them. I have Avery Markle's W9 now. It's funny, like she took a picture of it with her phone and sent it to me, but whatever.
That's all
And
right.
then I've bugged Antonio from Moxie to send me his performer agreement. So we've got all these lined up pretty much, and that gets us to 6,350 against the 6,500 that we have. Now this doesn't include the sponsorship that we got from the School of Rock, which is 1,500.
Yeah.
So we either carry that over to June, and I think we discussed this last time, or we just say, okay, we're not going to have a fiscal year 26 concert next year. We'll just start it in July and use that money. If we get an additional sponsorship, then that could bring on Studio 2.
How
And
much do you need to be able to bring on Studio 2 without going over?
it would be, let's see, so 1630, so we've got 150 left. 1750, so whatever 1750 minus 2500 minus 1750, so it's like 800
Right?
800
750.
$750 750.
750?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I had pinged the dentist, Upton Dental. I still haven't heard
Mhm.
back from them, but I was gonna go back again. But I was gonna be very specific about the amount, and I was gonna do 750, but I just want to double check that actually would get us there so that it didn't kind of become
that
pointless.
yeah,
So
that
I'll ping
would.
them again and follow up and see if I can get it. But 750 would get us there. Cool.
Yeah, that would. And I haven't heard back from Unibank yet. They should be getting back to me pretty soon, so
Okay.
so that's what I have lined up so far, and I think we're set to go. Once we solidify Moxie, and maybe in a week or two, if we get Studio 2 on, we should post the concert series.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
One-
go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing with this is I think you're going a little further than we had in the last few years into the season. So once the dates are like pretty finalized, if you or but if it can just get emailed to Brian over at Rushford to make sure that they get the
Yep.
liquor license for all of them. I
Yep.
think I gave him our initial guess, but if you're going a few extra weeks, then they wouldn't necessarily have them, and then including the rain date. And then I know we talked about this, but I just want to double check that we checked this. You did check. I know you did the like Twilight light versus
Twilight, yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Civil Twilight, yeah, yeah.
But are we sure it's not going to be too dark that far into the season?
Yeah,
I
so
think it will be.
yeah, so Avery Markle, I think, is a pretty small outfit, and they're the last concert. And when I looked at the Civil Twilight, it's like, 8:20, which is still light enough in that 20 minutes versus the actual sunset where you can drive without headlights on and do all that stuff. So we can ask her to stop, 5 or 10 minutes before 8, and she could break down, I think, well within the time of light.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, yeah, it's a little less that because we have the lights under the pavilion. I
Right.
think it's more just people tend to go home once it starts getting dark because they're thinking, ah, it's getting dark. I want to pack up my car, get my kids home, that kind of
Yep.
stuff. So,
Right.
luckily, they're one of our cheaper bands and a relatively small band, so hopefully they won't be too offended. But I'm just picturing, what was the country guy, the bigger country guy,
Oh yeah, yeah.
whatever his
Yep.
anyway, him or if the Beatles or something, like we don't want a mass exodus half hour
Yeah.
before they're done type
Yeah.
of feel. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And the other thing too is if we can't get Studio 2 for the July 2nd date, Avery Markle could probably switch to that date versus the later date.
That's great.
So we can keep that open.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
And
that
again,
would
it
probably
depends
be
on.
my preference is if we don't do Studio 2, bump them up, keep
Yeah.
that as our rain date and
Yep.
not go quite so far
Yep.
into the season.
I can certainly do that. Yep, no problem. But that seems to be all set. And do we advertise each concert on a sandwich board somewhere?
Yes, so we have those little like orange
Inserts.
and so each one has that specific concert. And so for instance, the gatekeepers, typically we just do it at the gate. The gatekeepers will just rotate every Thursday so that it's the next band.
Mhm.
And then on social media, I just have it's the same visual as when we do the
Right.
full list, but I just make it that one band and I typically post it Sunday, Monday, somewhere in there so that it's right
Okay.
before. Yeah.
And can we put the whole lineup somewhere
The
for the
whole
summer?
the whole lineup we typically don't have on a sandwich board,
Not
unless
on
we
a
get
sandwich
another
board,
one. Right,
on a
but for
website,
social media, yeah.
Oh,
Yep. And then
socials,
it's
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
like and
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
rec website and that
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
Yeah, so it's again the same template, which probably could use some updating, but this isn't the year. But it's a template that it just lists all of them with the dates and then all the typical information. We post that on the website, we post that on social media ahead, and then each week we do the individual band.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Good.
I was just realizing, Rick, did we take into consideration the two staff for the first concert when we were thinking about? Oh wait, no, they'd probably not be beach. Never mind. But I think we did take into consideration lifeguards for that concert, right?
Yes.
Free lifeguards. I think we did, and then the other ones wouldn't come out of the beach fund. So never
Yep.
mind.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
All right.
The other thing, this is not related to concerts necessarily, but I've got some invoices like I got the pickleball signs made. They're with DPW now. They're gonna put them up on the fences. I think being up there today, the pickleball signs that are on the shed there have like some dates and times there. I think they're obsolete now.
Okay.
We could probably put a piece of tape over them or something. I could do that. It's a piece of cake,
Yeah.
but just to block that out and have them look at the newer signs.
Yeah.
With regard to invoices, is there like I've got invoices just sitting here. Is there a template that I put these into? I saw a template in the mailbox.
So
That's this thing.
yeah,
Right.
I have a couple of those, right? I mean, that's something that, Chris, you and I could, maybe we can get together at some point and,
Yeah.
Just look over those and I can, or just maybe send me a list of what they are, what the number is, and then I could put them into the form and then send them back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll PDF them and send them over to you.
Yeah, I actually, I probably while I could sign, I think you have the authority to sign as well. So
I do, yeah.
if I just send them, if you just send me an email with the list of who and
Mhm.
the amount,
Mhm.
then I can just rip them. I can go into that template and rip them out and then just send you that 1-page sheet.
Okay. I
Because
mean, alternatively, if you want to send me the template, I could do that too. I could just put it in and then sign it and walk it down to the town hall.
The only hard thing about that is, only because I know Rick has done this when there was a transition between me and Andrew, is the correct account, because
Yeah.
sometimes, this goes out of beach and this goes out of parks and this goes out of rec. Oh, I thought it was
Okay.
parks, but it's really
Yeah.
rec. And then, and I still make mistakes about just, I wasn't thinking and I put it in rec and now we got an account transfer. So, yeah, I
Okay.
like the idea of you two working together, or Chris, you can even just ask
Oh,
me which
yeah.
account things come out of. And then Rick, do you remember Kenny sent over that updated account numbers, because the old file that we were all going based off of had those wrong account numbers, and so he sent the corrected one. I can email, let me just do it right now to you two.
I do vaguely remember it. And I'll be honest with you, when I put that other financial thing together, I didn't even go back and look at the Word doc that I had originally written up, or Andrew had originally written up. I augmented and then handed it off to you. I just went by what was on the PDF forms.
Yeah. So then Kenny updated that one because it was wrong.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And
All right. So
and we've had that happen where monies were going in, coming out and or going into the wrong accounts, and we caught it about this time last year.
A non-existent account.
Yeah.
well, that's always fun.
So, yep.
And then so I'll PDF those and I'll send them to you, Rick, and then you can send it back and I can countersign them and just bring them down to the town hall.
Yeah, no, literally, Chris, don't even waste your time, putting them in a PDF. Just send an email with the list of who it is and the actually, you know what? I probably don't even need. Well, I will need the amount probably, but
you just need like what's on this first line right here, right? Yeah.
Just the name and the amount, and then Rick will do the account number.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I think I've got. It may be old at this point, but probably for who's on there, I probably have those account numbers.
Yeah, I'll give you enough detail then. Okay.
And
then the other thing is
out the corrected account numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing I'm getting in the mailbox is things that were charged on the Rec Director MasterCard.
Yeah.
Receipt, invoice number. The one I have here is like Sub It Up. I don't even know what that is, but
that's our staff scheduling system.
Okay. What do I do with these things? Like the things that were charged to the credit card receipts?
Yeah, so sorry, that was me. I put them in there for myself because they're, when they go on the credit card, they don't want us submitting them as they come in. They wanted us submitting them at the end of each month. So, that one is this month's, which needs to be submitted at the beginning of next month. So I just printed it out and left it for myself so I wouldn't forget during all this.
Okay.
The only thing that we're waiting on is the pickleball net. So that was charged to the card and it was on last month's statement, but since it wasn't delivered yet, I can't pay it yet. So once it gets delivered, I just need to know so that I can pay it, because it's technically last month's statement that we're paying it on. But I wrote them a note saying not delivered, so therefore not paying yet.
Okay, I'll keep it when it gets delivered. I'll let you know. Yeah, when it gets delivered.
But you can leave those Sub It Up ones. Sorry, that was me. I'm used to being the only one who checks that mailbox, so I just wrote myself reminders.
I'll put it back. Don't worry.
Okay. Thanks.
Good. All right. Good. And then the only other thing with is with I'm getting a couple of questions on, and I think you guys saw this maybe, of the theater camp wait list. This person, Erin Gates, her, I think, son is on the wait list, and she's like, what's the chance of him actually getting in and all this stuff? I don't know if you guys are responding to that or not. I forwarded her info to Bob and Jen.
Yeah.
because she wanted to volunteer for choreography help or something. So they were thrilled about that. But with regard to her son on the wait list, I just want to get back to her on that.
Yeah, so I have not responded to anyone, but I had checked it, and when so the Bodie Gates is technically the third person on the wait list.
Mhm.
Yep.
When there was only one person on the wait list, we had talked about potentially being able to just swing them on over. And Jen,
Right.
I think Chris, you had told me that Jen had been like, that's fine.
Yep.
But now that we have 3 people on the wait list and we're, obviously we're sold out, I think we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't swing
Yeah.
anyone over and go up and then really use them. I think last year we had someone cancel last minute, we bumped them up. So I haven't answered, but if I'm going to or anybody's going to, really the answer is we are
You're on the
full at
wait
this
list.
point. If there's any cancellations,
Yeah.
we'll go in order, we'll offer in order of who, when they join the wait list.
Okay. And where is that person on the wait list?
Third,
Third.
Third. Okay. I'll get back to that person then.
Yeah.
And
And
let them know they're still on the
I
wait
wouldn't
list.
make a
and-
point to say they're third. I would just say we'll
No,
go
no,
in
no.
order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yep, I'll get
Great.
back to them.
yeah, and Chris, I guess I would say traditionally, we don't really see a lot of drop, right?
I think we
I
saw
think
Okay.
one
last
year.
last year we might have had that one,
Mhm.
and that's an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, I think most years that this has happened, they sign up for this specifically, they wait for this, and it sells out fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just
I
tell
had
her.
emails before we opened, and when I responded was like, I opened it today, they signed up, I think within hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll let them know that they're on the wait list still, and if anything opens up, we'll let them know.
Great.
Okay. I think that's all that I have.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that was on the agenda, so I know field updates was still on the one that was posted. It really, so obviously they did open on the 1st. However, they've also been closed.
Right,
Was it just
Technically,
nothing but
since
rain?
technically since Sunday, they left
Right.
them open on Saturday. Both soccer and lacrosse ended up saying, "You guys, thanks, but we're gonna cancel." Which was, I had been honestly, I was trying to lead them to that answer, and just knowing that we would have just killed the grass if
Yeah.
we played
Yeah,
4
yeah.
games up at Kiwanis, 5 games at West River.
yeah,
It would have been cooked. So.
Made no
Yep.
sense. Yeah.
So I did have a little faux pas yesterday. So the fields were still closed through yesterday and they opened back up this morning. My faux pas was I think I had started to do a reply and I didn't see from the Monday one, kind of asking, are they just closed until further notice because of the continued bad conditions that we're getting. But I never sent it, and that was on my phone because I can't. When I'm in the office, I can't see my Gmail account.
Right.
So I can see it on my phone, but because they sent another one in on Tuesday on top of something that I had already had in draft, I
Yeah.
didn't see the message, so I didn't
Yep.
mess out to them
Oh,
yesterday
yeah,
that
yeah,
the fields
yeah.
were closed.
Okay. Did they play on it or it got sorted out?
To be honest with you, I'm not even 100% sure. I think
Yeah.
I did get pinged and going, hey, there's the gate is still up at West River, and I went, I don't know, I'm not seeing anything. But
Yeah.
I went back to him. I did go back to him this morning. I said it was actually my fault because I got it unfortunately caught because of how I was looking at it. So
accessing, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rick, I wanted to mention, so typically to finishing up bath time.
Yep.
Typically I have always had Gary and then John when Gary's out text me because I do the whole, do not disturb, but they get to break through do not disturb because sometimes it's a 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
reach out.
Yeah.
And I'm not checking my email at 6 a.m., but people need to know
Yep.
that, we're canceling. So if you wanted until I'm back to ask for that, I just always found that is much faster, more efficient,
Yep.
easier. And that was the system. So that wouldn't be like a
Yeah. So,
wrong ask.
Gary is out at the moment.
Yes.
John happened to be out last week and the
Right.
beginning of this week. So
Right.
it just so happened that was happening.
Yeah.
But
I
no,
think they
I
said it was
did get
Neil
I did
something.
get daily updates. So
Oh, through text?
no, through email, but
yeah. I
that's
got
okay,
those, yeah.
right? I mean, I volunteered the fact that we, hey, here's what I know is going on for soccer games up there to help them make the decision type
Yeah.
of thing. So,
Yeah.
so it was all good.
Okay.
So two other
So-
small things about field stuff.
Yep.
One was the communication with the May 31st people.
Yes.
Have you made any progress, Rick, on finding out about the upper parking lot and
Yeah,
the soccer games?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking to see whether or not I can try to move some of those.
Mhm.
I really haven't gotten a lot of progress on that, and it's only because, because of the bad weather.
Mhm.
I ended up having, about 70 cancellations last weekend, right? So,
A little busy.
I took my busy in a different direction, right?
Yeah, we have
So-
time, I think, to respond to that parking situation thing.
Yeah, I
Yes
think
and
so.
no, I
but-
do think they're pretty stressed. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna offer to meet with them probably next week just to kind of walk around Kiwanis and chat. But at least from the math they did with how many people are volunteering, they aren't gonna have a lot of spots open for participants.
Right.
And that's on them because they, this is their event. But I think just knowing one way or another, I wouldn't be surprised if they would even figure out carpools from the community center or something. Like they might figure
right.
out another thing
Yeah.
if the answer
Yeah.
is no.
Yeah.
But I think we need to give them time to figure it out
Soon.
if the answer is
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
My assumption is they're going to need the church parking lot and
Mhm.
maybe not the community center per se, but at least the church one, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
The one near Rushford's or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? Or maybe they can
Okay.
talk to somebody about using the senior center van for the Saturday and shuttling
Right.
things back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But what I'm trying to do is and I forget what the breakdown was. I think there's one of the games that I probably can't move, but I think some of the others I potentially have an opportunity because it's a D3 level game, which
Mhm.
means we can play that one a little bit later in the season without really impacting things, just to move it off the day as a whole, right?
That'd be great.
So
The only issue with really having any games is I bet you the people who park up there, it's gonna be just chilling all day. This seems like something they want people to show up and hang out. So, if being able to clear cars before that game seems very unlikely. So it would have to be they can't park there at all until that game's over. If it's
Right.
first thing in the morning, cool. We just say, all right, that's our overflow once we get full.
Right.
But if it's not first thing in the morning, it would have to be blocked all day for
yeah,
that game.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
they
yeah.
for those games? Do they fill the entire upper lot, Rick, or is it just like 12
Yeah.
cars or something?
Yeah,
Sorry.
because so the unfortunate part is there, most of those rosters are
The living room.
13, 14 people.
Mhm.
So for two teams, and
Oh, okay.
that pretty much fills up the spots.
Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only other thing about fields was when I was up there today, when does the softball field start getting used?
Not until May.
So
Oh, good. Because the
Yeah.
mound is like a big giant lake.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
yep, always
Okay.
is.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, always is
I
at this
just
time.
making you
Yeah,
aware
so,
that that's all.
Yeah.
No big deal. Okay.
Yep. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we had said this is the year that we're doing no fall ball, right? For recovery. I think what the agreement we had made for with Kiwanis in the field, I mean with DBW in the fields and everything was no fall ball. So it'll be just that
Yeah.
session. Yeah.
Good.
and actually Donna called me. What day did Donna call me? Sunday, maybe. Could have been Saturday. I don't know. She called me one of those days. And she goes, I don't think we're using Kiwanis this year. And I
Hmm.
went, you're not. Okay. Because last year we kind of booted her off because of closing the field down.
Right.
So she's trying to do the Uxbridge thing again. And she goes, so, I think we're all set to kind of stay in Uxbridge. And, of course, me being me, I went, so Ben, you're using Sutton Street Field in Uxbridge? She goes, yeah, that's what Ben said, and we're all set. And I go, yeah, but that's a mud puddle in the spring, right? And I know it's a mud puddle in the spring. I went,
Yeah.
are you sure you have a field to use? I'll validate with him, but he told me, his dad told me I'm all set, and I went, all right. So I haven't removed it yet, but it very well may end up being that Kiwanis actually isn't being used at all on Sunday,
Okay.
right? Because lacrosse isn't using it in the afternoon.
Wow.
This year, so
Okay.
just just in case something else ends up coming up,
Mhm.
the unfortunate part is if the event on the 31st, which is a Saturday, if that happened to have been June 1st, it might not have been a problem,
Right. Right.
except for
Yeah.
the fact that it's a softball day. So it would have been a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Just a
Uh,
different problem.
Two things I wanted to bring up, and these are kind of odds and ends, so this feels like odds and ends time.
It is.
One is security cameras.
Yep.
So actually three things. One is security cameras. So just now that it's kind of getting nicer, getting Bob down there and just doing a full sweep of checking it all. It's kind of what we've done the last few years of just saying tweak everything if things got off from the winter, if they need a cleaning, if the ones at the gatehouse that always go down, get them back up again, all that, get ready to go. So I don't.
Yep.
I think this is about good timing. It also, could wait a little bit longer, but kind of a why not.
Get it on its radar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't, I can reach out with him, or if somebody wants to take that one.
Who is it?
So it's Sunset Sound, which is our security camera company, and the guy's
Yeah,
name is Bob.
I can send him a message. Yeah.
You can, okay,
All
perfect.
right.
And I am gonna meet up actually with the Family Day people. I'm kind of putting it off a bit to try to have this answer first, because I know that's gonna be a stressor for them. But I am gonna meet down at Kiwanis with them. So if I can coordinate those being the same day, that would be great. But again, then we'll need the key from Dennis for the office. So
Yeah.
there's just a
I'll ask
couple
them
of
about that.
dominoes on that. Realized there were three things. Second thing is the tent. So when I had kind of admitted to Joe, hey, I don't know if we ever above board said this is my uncle, but I know Retcom knows it's my uncle and they are just the local tent company, blah, blah, blah. He did say we probably should kind of get a few quotes and do the process. This is actually a little bit late, but I think it would be fine, but to the time where we typically just schedule when they set up. So I ping them March, April, and say, can you put us on the calendar? Because their busy season is when we ask them to set up. It's not now. But
Yeah.
they typically can find a morning or something to pop over and get it set up. It involves staff. Usually it's just me, and I bring in a gatekeeper or two a day before pulling everything out. So there's a couple of, again, steps, but it's not terrible. It's just that if we can't schedule it or if we kind of can get maybe away with one more year of them and then deal with the thing later. I don't know. I don't really know on that one, but I do know that we need to get on their radar to get the tent set up.
Okay. But is that
Yeah.
something, you're looking for us to send a message out on, or are you just
Well,
gonna contact them?
I guess the question is if we're cool with kind of just going again one more year since things have really become last minute, I can ping them, get it scheduled. I'll kind of know the timeline of that. If we're trying to do the bids thing, then I would ask for some help with that.
All right. Here's how I'll stake that one out, right? Because obviously I know what Joe said. Joe obviously knows that, we were on the up and up on how we had gone about it. So
Yep.
let's get it scheduled and in,
Okay.
because I think we have to at this point, right?
Yeah.
We're probably a hair late on making sure we have that request in.
Yep.
And maybe what I'll try to do is talk with either Joe or Sue on, is there a formal document that we should put a declaration submission in against to say, this is who we've used and we're continuing to use at this point in time.
Yeah.
And see where it goes from there.
Yep. Love
Mhm.
it.
When would it get set up? Like this month?
No, typically I actually just have it set up about a week before Kids at Play,
Oh,
but
okay.
it really depends on their availability. So they do a lot of the Brimfield flea market tents, and then it's also just busy season. They're a tent company, so summer's their busy season, and June especially is graduation parties and everything. So busy,
Yeah.
busy season. Sometimes they've needed it to be earlier in June, and that's fine. Because I said, hey, as
okay,
long as
okay.
it's before Kids at Play, I don't care if it's up for a month or a day, as long as it's ahead.
Yeah.
So we really let them pick. My ideal is just a week before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna
And
say
get
if
the
you need
angle
help,
right on the
I can.
anchor.
Yeah, straight
can
up
go
and
down there
down
too.
stakes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then third thing, which was an odd end, is one of the things, and again, I had kind of pushed this as probably not this year, but one of the big comments from gatekeepers last year was our credit card readers. We got the old swipe style, and those just
Yep.
did not work. And so they ended up just typing in credit card numbers, which was fine. Nothing gets saved in the system, so it wasn't a security issue. It was just a super often that like they made it work. It was just annoying. So one of the things I was going to look at this year was the, Clover or one of those style. Part
Yeah.
of my hesitation was the expense. We have a couple of accounts that we had some big extra expenses on. So maybe it can again be something that has a lot of setup, and then a July 1st we try something out because that'll still be into the season. Or
fiscal
we just
year,
push it a year and they type them in, and
Yeah, I
it's
thought we were gonna
tedious,
push
but
it
they
now.
can do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we could put
Yeah.
an ATM machine down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So I'm kind of fine with either of those. I honestly, in my to-dos, my kind of groundwork researching and everything beyond just the company Clover, which is the only one I've worked with before, was really just going to be in that February time period, which had changed a bit.
Yeah.
So I haven't done much more researching to know what would be best. But if we want me to try to see if we can maybe launch something July 1st financially, so that we can maybe test it out the tail end if we need to return things or whatever, that's possible. Or do you think it would be better to just say no to this year?
Did we put that under the parks expense?
So
right?
we
Because
didn't.
it's gatehouse and gatekeepers and
Yeah, we didn't really do anything. I think I got like $15 card swipes that plug into the iPad that we used.
Oh.
So I think I put them under parks, but it wasn't an expense really. This one I haven't priced out, so I don't know what we're talking about. I assume it's less of the product and more of a subscription that
Sure.
we're signing up for.
Totally with you.
But again, I can do some, laying the groundwork on what that would look like, and then maybe in the May meeting come with more facts to see. Again, I still think no matter what, we should wait till July 1st. But if it's like, hey, on July 1st, I hit buy, things get shipped 2 days later and we try it out, kind of why not?
But if it's if it's something minor and it fits within the parks piece, because that, to me, that's being able to take a payment for visiting the park. So, parks feels
Yeah.
right to me. I
Yep, I
would
agree.
say that I don't think we'd have to wait for that one.
Okay.
Right, if it's rec revolving and it's got subscriptions and all kinds of other stuff, maybe I'm with you on the July piece, but I think where this feels parkish, that we should be okay.
Okay. And I think I'm making this assumption, but that's obviously within the realm of what we're talking about, because parks tends to be relatively break even. So if this is a substantial amount of money, then we wouldn't want to do it any year.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll look into it a little bit before the next meeting and just have a little bit more details on what range we're talking about in terms of price.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Cool. Any other things?
Those are my odds and ends.
I guess the only thing that I'm thinking, I think we've done a pretty good job of making sure we've tag teamed on the majority of responses. I don't think there's anything else that's out there on a, hey, can you cancel? Can you adjust, or any of that type of stuff? I think I've kept up with those and I've got all those processed. So I think the only one that, like Chris had mentioned, was the one on the 531 party and getting back, and then the theater one, right? Those are, I think that those are really the only two open-ended responses. So
I'll do the theater one.
Yeah.
I'll take care of the theater one.
Okay.
And then the May 31st one.
Rick, when do you think you'll know?
I'll probably know within the next week.
Okay.
Right, because so the other, the flip side of that ends up being is, if I can move them, are all the parties willing to move, right? And that's the other part, right? Because they've got their schedule, they've already marked it in. If I move them from 531 to say 614, are they now going no with me? Now they shouldn't, because their kids are still in school at that point. So they shouldn't have made vacation plans yet, but you never know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay. So it's just a matter, and it's really just mapping in, the 1,300 games that we do offer, and do some of those teams already have a game on the 14th and I can't move them, right? So I really haven't gone through the dirty details to get them all like laid out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess I'll reach out to Family Day people, because I already owe them a response on when to get together at Kiwanis. Just kind of walk through and look at everything. But I'll try to maybe push it to later next week, so that hopefully I have an answer from you, Rick.
Okay. Yep.
All
right. Yep. No, that sounds fine.
Great.
So for next meeting,
I definitely,
go ahead.
I definitely want to have direction on that. Certainly before Easter weekend, so that way, if we needed to shuffle things around, we can get that done earlier in the season versus later in the season.
Great.
Okay.
So the next meeting schedule.
So next meeting.
So this one was early.
I think you're avoiding Easter weekend stuff.
Yeah, and out of so May, we could do Wednesday the 14th, I could do the 21st, I think, which is the next Wednesday after that. I should be back from a thing that I'm running easily by 7, so either either of those days we could do. If you want to do like an earlier one, because this one was early, and just kind of eke it back towards the third Wednesday of the month, we could do the 14th.
Yeah, I'm yeah, in some ways I'm kind of leaning towards the 14th for this
Okay.
particular one. Only reason being, it'll be a kind of a weird time right before Memorial Day weekend, and I've got tournament things and all kinds of other
Yeah,
fun stuff that
yeah,
I tax myself with.
yeah. It'd be good
Yeah.
to have a earlier one anyway, because then the action's going to really start. A lot of the action's going to start soon after
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
I
Eileen-
go ahead.
Nope.
Yeah, no,
I was just
Eileen
gonna say,
told-
is there a target date of when you think you're back to a more regular schedule?
Laura. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking to Laura. Yeah, I
Yeah, no accounting for me at all, please.
got it. I'm actually shooting for that week. I think is the last week that I'm on family leave. So
Okay.
I think I have it kind of all tracked with my vacation days and sick days, but I believe that's the last week of that. Which I'm still working to part-time, each week to kind of keep up with things. So that'll continue through that week, and then the following week will be back to full-time.
Got
There are a couple of days sporadically I'm taking off, but that's kind of
Of
more
course.
a regular
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah.
Doctor's appointments and stuff. But
Right.
the only other thing, sorry, I just realized this is very unrelated to what we're talking about. Yes, I think the 14th works. I don't actually have my phone because it's in baby room and Grace is putting her to sleep, but I'll double check that, and if it doesn't work, I'll email out.
Okay.
But I think that should be fine. Rick, I just realized I don't think we put lifeguard training into our math for extra pay in FY25.
Okay.
Because that would have to be, even if we push the beach back, there has to be at least one day that we pull everyone together and do a full couple-hour training.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, is that so? How many? So based on the hiring piece and that type of stuff, how many? What's the number look like?
Probably about 12 lifeguards, one beach director.
Okay.
And I would say a 3-hour training.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was thinking when we were planning all stuff, I'm going to be in the midst of scheduling trainings and stuff, and then that
Yeah.
that hit
No,
me. Yep.
no, it's a good call out,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't factor that in either. So yeah. Okay.
How much are the trainings?
How much they just get paid their normal hourly wage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Not for
Yeah,
the
so-
training
Yeah, so if
itself.
we-
Yeah.
Okay.
So
'Cause I get an email from somebody in Milford about lifeguard training
yeah.
today,
Yeah.
offering. Yeah, it's Milford and some hospital. It's like $100 for lifeguard training per person.
Per person?
I think so. Hold on one second.
Well,
Maria
to
brought it up.
Anyway,
to
yeah,
get
we
the
don't.
certification, right?
Oh, to get the
Yeah.
yeah.
For someone
So
to
they
sign up
pay-
and get certified to become a lifeguard. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
This
They pay for
one
their
is-
own certification, but we just do a training for site specific stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
This
I
is
see.
a
I
site
see.
specific.
All right, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
But we
Okay.
just make it a requirement of the position that they are already certified, which they do on their own.
Yeah, it's Milford
Um,
Regional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, so anyway, Rick will we can touch base on that, but I just thought of that.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.